Welcome all to the December 2023 edition of the Tough Love Arena State of the Game stream. I will be your host tonight. My name is Paul, and I'm one of the co-creators of Tough Love Arena. Currently in chat right now is Amy Shu, the other creator. And tonight, for the next 30 to 60 minutes, I'm going to tell you all about the state of the game. So what have we worked on since the last broadcast in November? What do we have coming up to be excited about? And then at the end, we'll go through the monthly survey results and do a Q&A with chat. So if you want to ask me questions or talk, please stick around. It'll be fun. So let's just hop right into it. In the past, what did we get done in November? So the Rice Patch came out, which I presume was a surprise to everyone because I didn't discuss it at all. And it sort of was that shower moment idea of like, oh, what if I said this? That probably won't break things. And so I added it. And I'm excited to see the survey, which I'll be reading blind on stream, which is probably not the best idea. Excited to see how people feel about it. But that went out along with, I was sneaking in a bunch of the arcade changes. So you've seen it. I did a demo last state of the game. It hasn't changed that much since then. So if you want to check it out, go to our YouTube channel. You can find the November one. But as I've made progress on that and all of the sort of under the hood work that involves, changing versus mode, sorts of things, I was able to get that in with the quick port just to make sure that, like, if there were any bugs, which there were, they're surfacing now and not all at once. There's the elongated tech animation that was a popular request for a long time, just giving people more time to react. Aforementioned progress on arcade mode. And as I was progressing in arcade mode, I realized that I was sort of blocked by having the boss characters. So I have started earnest progress on Cryptic Carb, which I will show you right now. This is very early stage, but as per usual, they're the sort of black and white inverted version of the normal skins. I'm thinking about probably playing with the brightness a little bit. Like, I don't love how high contrast this is. That's something that I just need to do in my, like, alt process. So the look is not final. But right now it's going to be Rice, yes. At least the first one will be Rice. And as I mentioned in the April Fool's breakdown stream, also VOD on YouTube if you want to check it out. Also, I'm kind of like blown out. Let me tilt that up a little bit. Dark Rice. I thought you said, I read that as Dank Rice. Dank Rice, Dank Rice. A lot of the April Fool's ideas that were pretty radical, like the major change to Pork's kit, I didn't want to actually integrate into the game, but were potentially great ideas for the boss. So, for example, with Rice, I am embracing the idea of the slide and the sort of super swipe, but I'm going a little bit further. I'm not just porting the April Fool's character. So right now I'm experimenting with this idea of having Whip Pounce as a command, because similar to the April Fool's, the walk speed is atrociously slow, so you can get around. These are like your movement buttons. Oops. I don't remember my own combos, but that's okay. So this has been in progress. I will be doing a dev stream tomorrow if you want to come check it out, where I'll be working more on this. So come say hi. Feel free to give ideas. Amy in the chat, I'm going to read these things out loud because I don't know how readable this will be on the stream VOD, but Amy, our lore master, offers that Rice is capable of being evil, but only in a not self-aware way. I think that's fair. So, back to state of the game. The present. I should probably just rename this. It's long since just been like a way to talk about health of the game. So this is how I feel about the characters right now. Again, we'll see how much this matches the survey in a moment. But I have no plan changes for Noodle or Garlic, so Shy Ninja in the chat can relax. I will not change Noodle. Rice had those recent changes, and I got some comments in my last dev stream where people brought up concerns about the fact that, like, wasn't Rice already really good? It wasn't Rice arguably the best character? Why are you buffing them by giving them more tools? And to me, this is the distinction between a design change and balance change. The Quick Port edition was a design change. I thought that Rice's gameplay was getting a little repetitive. This was a way to maybe inject some more personality and opportunity for player expression, but was very careful to make sure it wasn't like actually that good. Like a lot of the states you can get into are pretty punishable. It's more about a mental stack thing, which is not nothing. So to me, these are two separate, not mutually exclusive things. That was a design change that I hope will stick, but if that and or Rice was already too strong before, then those can be fixed with balance changes. And I don't anticipate this being a tool where we need to remove the tool. Like, there's balancing based on tools and based on like numbers and timing. And it's a lot easier to balance based on numbers like damage, frame advantage, these sorts of things. And a lot of the moves have had adjustments. Hop kick was very different when you could, you know, do the junk and link after it, right? That's just a number change. Design changes are usually much more drastic, like the whole noodle fist rework. So, to me, that was a design change, trying to make Rice a little bit less boring, and the balance changes will always be simpler and easy to do on top of the quick port. Beef and pork, I'm still thinking about those changes I threatened back in April. That sort of got put on pause for April Fools. About the palm and neutral and the changes to pork's caber, they're still just sort of on standby waiting for me to finish boss Rice. And onion, I've been getting some, yes Alexa, threatened, that's the correct verb. And onion, I have been getting some feedback about the damage being just like a little too high, so I'm going to look into my options there and how I can do that without dumpstering garlic. How's the audio levels? Good. Good. Thank you, Ethan. So now the future. What's coming up? Happy to announce the birthday tournament. So it's going to be the first Friday of January, January 5th. The usual time and setup and rules and everything. All that stuff is in the description, and you should be able to go right now and sign up at challenge.com/TLABday24. I'll link this everywhere after the stream is over. There will be a Matcherino, but I just didn't have time to set it up before the stream. And I also just wanted to like make sure that the TOs were all cool with the date before I, start getting people to put money into it. So expect that in the coming weeks. But I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm not expecting us to surpass the totally insane Halloween Matcherino that was like over $600, but it's the holiday season. I think we could get close. So look forward to that. And as per usual, there will be the birthday skins that will come into effect on January 1st and then be eligible for winning during the birthday tournament. And now, Amy update. So Amy was kind enough to send me some things before the stream that I was super excited to add to the slideshow. So I'm very happy to show off the walk cycles for Garlic. In particular, I personally love the little scooting back. Got some good scoots going on. And some attack animation. So, sorry we haven't been more visible about this. I know it's been a while since you've seen Garlic, but I brought it up to Amy, and Amy's like, oh yeah, I've been making tons of progress. Here's some images. So, we'll try to keep you a little bit more up to date, but yeah, look at that. Look at that beautiful cat them. Super excited for that. Alrighty. And now, Amy says, wheels are hard to draw, but worth it. Yeah, I remember you talking about the fact that, like, oh, when Amy was designing all the accessories, right? Because the characters are naked except for sort of, like, head and feet. As you're finishing up Onion and gearing up for Garlic, the tone in Amy's voice when they realized, like, oh yeah, those rollerblades. There's a lot of details there, huh? But it looks marvelous. So let's take a look at the survey. close it down. Boop. So how fun do you think Tough Love Range is to play? Good. 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 Fair. Character feedback. Okay, Noodle. How strong do you think this character is compared to the rest of the cast? And how fun are they? How way above average on fun and slightly above average on strong. That's fine. Make Frenzy not ever give a strike throw mix up on hit. When landing close Frenzy versus every character except Spices, Noodle can walk up throw at a time that beats both the 5H mash and walk back, giving Noodle a true 50-50 off their Minos reversal. That is interesting. I hadn't thought about that. I am surprised. If they... I mean, you can tech the throw, so you could maybe try to react to them walking forward. If you throw out like a light punch, would that stuff the throw? But then I guess that loses to like meaty whip. Interesting analysis. Thank you for bringing this up. I'll keep this in mind. As I mentioned on the slides, don't expect Noodle changes in the next month, but I'll definitely be keeping this in mind. Rice. How strong is this character? Above average? How fun? Ooh, these are much better numbers. These are much better numbers than last month. Comments. Rice is 5HH4S, so that's the quick port back, the retreating teleport. It's a little too evasive. Maybe make the window for the cancel happen later into the 5HH. Make the window for the cancel happen later. Oh, so that they're further ahead, I think. That makes sense. Yeah, because the second H has so much travel to it, where you actually wind up when you quick port back could be very variable. That is a very interesting idea that could potentially be just sort of like hard-coded fixed. It wouldn't matter what the timing is if, similar to how the forward one always teleports you directly in front, the back one could sort of teleport you relative to the opponent, but back X space. Now, that does take away something I liked, which was like going for sort of a tipper port. So maybe only some of them would act that way. Maybe only after specifically whip pounce. But if you were doing like flick into teleport, a max range, or not flick, flick is onion and garlic, a slap at max range, you'd be allowed to have that range. Quick port is a very fun tool, and while it may be fundamentally broken, that cancels into it for 5H, give 5H an extreme amount of mix-ups and safety. Character is extremely polarizing. Rice makes beats basically not exist in the patch, and is so strong that the Spice matchups could arguably be even. In this incredibly strong state, they still lose to Noodle because they're built very hard around zoning and get punished from getting in with poor defense. The Noodle matchup is fine to be losing, but the character's not in a healthy place in general, even if they're very fun. Totally fair, and I haven't watched the VOD yet, but I am aware that the last TLG, like the top 3 was all Rice's, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think there's a way that we could balance Noodle without taking away the fun new tool. So I'll definitely be looking to do that. Hold backward to teleport in place instead of the other side of the screen. Wouldn't that be hysterical? Okay. And SWAT. Yes, I did do this on stream, and then sort of forgot where I was going with it. So this will be, I can also zoom in while I'm reading these, the on-hit tumbling. So for people who don't know, right now when you're programming a character, you can sort of do, go to mod. I think a good example is the meats, attack, uppercut. So when the uppercut lands, it's coded to have a different juggle depending on if they were grounded, that's tumble, versus if they were already in the air. Tumble, I'm tumbling. What tumble should you do when they're already got tumbled? However, this doesn't differentiate between, or like, this allows you to just change some of the numbers. But if you want to go into a very different scenario, based on if it's an actual juggle continuation versus an anti-air, that is not currently possible with the engine. I was able to implement that, I think, last week's stream, maybe the week before. So I just need to merge it into production so that modders can play with it, and then that is another thing I will be addressing on dev streams in the coming month as I work out how to integrate that into SWAT in a way that's intuitive. Because I think I did a few experiments on stream, but they were kind of like, this seems kind of confusing. So still open to it, and we're going to have the tool going forward. Back to the survey. Beef, strong, mostly fun. Oh, interesting. I think that's maybe the most negative we've seen so far. Beef's parry is just watered down onion at this point. Difference being ease of use in exchange for being less functional. That's a fair criticism. Make the whiff RC window slightly later on so you can still do it, but the reward is slightly lessened. I assume this is the whiff lemon. This was nerfed on purpose. So if we make it any later, then it's just too easy to react to a jump. So unfortunately, I cannot change this. But I'll definitely, this is something I will keep in mind. Pork, above average strong, definitely fun to use. 4S6, so that is the empty jump where pork just lands into a neutral standing state. Falls very slightly faster to allow a stronger safe jump. Oh, they asked that it would fall faster. I can explore that. And if the opponent techs Caber, it apparently moves both players closer than a regular tech. This has something to do with the vacuum effect when Caber begins. At this range, pork can no longer walk out of reversal sweep. Great catch. Remind me about that on stream tomorrow. That should be a pretty simple fix. I totally believe that I made that oversight. So, good catch, thank you. Onion. Above average strong except for one hater, and very fun to use. Nerf damage a bit, so this is some of the stuff that I've been hearing outside of the survey. And joke officially at Onion install. That's going to be for the boss character, just you wait. Garlic is strong. This is maybe the best I've seen garlic rated. Garlic is usually pretty middle of the pack, I think. And very fun to use. Could use, if you could remove 2 or 3 things and the mental stack would still make my brain melt, pick your poison. Make 5HSL. That is the doing sweep into dash into trip, which at close range will cross up. It's very nasty. I remember playing long sets against Phil where he bullied me with it. Yeah, I'm ignoring that comment. And it would make me happy if backflip could cancel into its follow-ups as soon as it became vulnerable. I think the reason I didn't do that is because one of the follow-ups puts you airborne, and that would allow you to sort of guarantee an airborne state, which is less rewarding. That could be adjusted, but that's sort of what the idea is. So that, like, if you know that they're going to go for backflip, the punish is very straightforward. And then lastly, what about TLA appealed to you? Very low commitment. Thank you. I totally agree with this as sort of our killer feature. Free browser game with rollback. Easy to learn. Looking forward to arcade mode, story mode. Those are the same things. The on-hit tumbling. And yes. Nice. And then nice thoughts. I won't linger on these for too much, because I don't want you all to read me smelling my own farts. But wonderful. We do that every month, so thank you to everyone who replied or who filled it out. This is again one of the most how to frame this. What's the word? One of the most effective ways of getting feedback to me, because my DMs are open and you can use the different like bug report and balance discussion channels. But I'm not always the best at monitoring those. Whereas this, I do it in front of a live studio audience, and you get to then harass me for the next 3 Dev streams about, hey, Paul, what about that Caber Tech thing? So definitely please feel free to use this as a forum going forward. And then we arrive at the Q&A. So I will start reading questions that have been that are posted after Alexa said I love harassing game devs. Anything below that, I will read. If you posted something earlier, please just repost it, and I would be happy to take a look. Fred Jory asks, how was your day, Paul? My day was good. I went to the doctor and got some good news. And, exciting for me personally, if you're interested in this sort of thing. Business progress. So I've been running Tough Love Arena as a sole proprietorship. If you're curious about how that works, Google it. So that way, when we have server costs or when we would travel for PAX or whatever, I could claim those as business write-offs and get some small amount of tax advantage on it. And the sole proprietorship is the simplest, easiest way to do that. But I am excited to announce that I think as of today, I've officially made a company called MPaul Games, LLC, which I will be using as a wrapper for both Tough Love Arena and the upcoming fighting game that does not yet have a name, so that I can, one, it'll help with sort of contracts that I have coming up for the new game, and two, it will just also make it that much easier to sign up for things with Tough Love Arena. Like when I would apply to work at PAX, and you know they need like your corporation name and all this other stuff. It was kind of messy. This will simplify those things and make my life easier. It's going to be more complicated up front, but then it'll make it better. And an LLC it's not a publicly tradable company. It's just a way of organizing things. So sadly, you cannot pump the Paul coin. But I appreciate your vote of confidence. So that was my day, Frederick. Alexa says, I'm aware you said you haven't planned any noodle changes in the immediate future, but are there any long-term you got in mind? I see your comment, Amy. Hold that thought. No, nothing long-term. Again, the only things I'd say that like I have planned that I just haven't implemented yet are those meat changes I've been stewing on and my long-threatened parry rework. But Noodle has been consistently for a while at a place that I love. I love Noodle's kit. I love Noodle's design. So there could always be little balancing tweaks on, you know, how positive Frenzy is or the spacing, that sort of stuff. But I love Noodle's kit, and I'm not planning to change that anytime soon. And I don't have any... If I had... Usually when I have ideas that are longer term, they're kind of more because something's wrong with the character and I'm looking forward to fixing it. Noodle been fixed. So I'm happy about that. Amy says, Noodle and pork are good gift givers, and garlic never gets anyone anything and only asks for sand. How do you feel about this? That makes perfect sense, because garlic is my persona, and I also never ask for Christmas gifts. I haven't thought of asking for sand. Is that like, is that for their litter box? I feel good about that. That's how I feel. Amy says, MPaul Games, what happened to Huge Beef? So, I talked to Amy a little bit about this naming of the company, and I floated some ideas by them. And I think it was Large Beef. Large Beef is what we were discussing as an option. And then I talked to the lawyer again and sort of got talked out of that. Basically, I felt better when I realized that there's a difference between what I name my LLC for paperwork reasons and then what I go to conventions and present myself as. So I'm definitely reserving the right to set up a table at EVO and call it the Huge Beef Production Company or something. But I was just worried about asking someone to sign a contract with me and it's saying Large Beef on the contract paper and that raising red flags. So I appreciate, I agree with you, Amy, but don't worry, we'll do something like that. Esid asks, opinion on making, let me check the audio levels, yep. Esid asks, opinion on making beefs flex, oh, I forgot to do the Q&A. Q&A cam, so you can see more of the hat. Esid asks, opinion on making beef's flex be both a harder counter to land, but that then it transition into a slower grill time. So the idea I have for the parries to rework them, which is not very well thought out, don't be alarmed. This is on my long to-do list to explore, but is to remove the frame 1 invulnerability. in my opinion, that'll immediately make them much harder to land. But nerfing them as wake-up options, as panic, abare options, would then give me more latitude to make them stronger in other ways, in more interesting ways. And it would further separate this constant dilemma I've had of the parries being so similar to reversals, but just kind of strictly worse. So now they'll be worse at being a reversal, but better for reward. And I can lean into that. So, as far as them, like the actual, how long they're active, like how viable they are as anti-airs, that's stuff that will require testing. And I'm not sure if it would go into Girl Time specifically. For those who don't know, Girl Time was a proposed change that got like 90% of the way through and then was shot down during Canary testing, for which I'm grateful. That was removing Beef's parry and replacing it with this really slow armored move that could be cancelled. And it was like unblockable. It was complicated. I think I added it to one of the April Fools in like a nerfed state. So that is an idea I have for parries, to spice things up. But that's all I can say about that for now. Fried Jory says, glad things are moving forward for you, Paul. Thank you. Oh, and then correct yourself, moving. Utaka asks, hello, Paul, will Rice Armored ever be removed? There's a lot of community feedback that people don't like the change and miss the old Rice. I like the armor. I really like the armor because now for characters who want to go close, it sort of created this dynamic, when I played at least, at my, low casual level, where every time I have Rice cornered, I have to sort of give up my Oki opportunities and like walk back to be ready to react to the teleport, because otherwise they just get out of the corner for free, and then I have to chase them down the whole length of the screen again. And the idea that now I can stay in Rice's face and threaten an option that will be teleport. Now it's not a great option because it throws them out of the corner if you're not Pork, but you get some damage off of it, right? So I like that. Now, how long the armor lasts, how short it is before they become intangible, these are all things that can be balanced. But being frame 1 armor, or at least being armor before they're intangible, so that there is an answer, is gonna stay. Moshpox, so for the VOD, Moshpox asks Amy, how do Beef and Onion do on gift giving? And Amy, the lore master, replied, where was it? Oh, Amy didn't reply. Sorry, Amy. Didn't mean to call you out. I could have sworn you said something. I don't know. We'll wait to see what Amy says about Beef and Onion gift giving. Issa asks, thoughts on canceling Caber Run into a slower Caber Run to bait out tech but still lose to hit? That's probably a little too complicated. I'm satisfied right... No worries, Amy. I'm satisfied right now with just the, feint. And I worry, the more we overload these cancels and stuff, my fear is always people, inputting these things on accident. So I'd hate for a new player to have the experience of sometimes my Caber's fast and sometimes it's slow, and I don't know why. Not that that's guaranteed. They could be implemented in a certain way, but I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze. Dab SR asks, mostly a modding question, but is there a reason why certain properties don't work in certain sequence IDs? I assume you're talking mostly about projectiles, maybe some other stuff. Without getting too into the weeds, I'm happy to maybe dive deeper on a dev stream when I have the full code base up in front of me. But basically, the way I implemented characters, as you can tell from the modding tools, is they have these many sequences. And a sequence has a bunch of props, but those props are only going to be read at a certain point in code. And so during the update character code, it says, okay, check if this sequence has movement. Check if the sequence has cancels. Check if the sequence has particles it needs to create, all that stuff. And in fact, I got into a lot of trouble when I started adding some of these things to projectile sequences. But just where projectiles existed and where they were handled in the code didn't do any of these checks. It just said, here's a projectile sequence, just draw it and just move it. And I wanted to add hurt boxes, but it wasn't checking if they got hit, right? So that never got like fully solved. It didn't seem worth like the large, complicated refactor. So right now it is sort of a mixed bag on what's obeyed or what it cares about. That's definitely something I've been mindful of the new game. Actually, again, sadly, I don't think I can show anything for another couple months, but I added fireballs to the new game last week, and I did it by like essentially just cloning the character, putting them into the fireball sequence, and the fireball sequence has a special flag that says once this sequence is done, kill the character. And this way I could just take that additional character and then just put them into the big list of characters so they would go through all of the character code. And I've yet to see how many bugs that's going to cause. But I'm excited to find out. That was what I was supposed to work on today until I got distracted with all this business stuff. So tomorrow. Oh, Amy has the answer to the Mox question. Amy clarifies that onion has to be reminded to give gifts, rice makes practical gifts, and beef gets people mugs and scarves. Is that me? Or is that beef is who I would want to shop for me? I definitely had a mug and scarf period. I have a lot of mugs and a lot of scarves. Scrolling back up for some questions I missed. Fred Drury says, Paul, have you ever considered dyeing the beard white? I don't see any need because it's going to turn white eventually. If I wanted to fully embrace like a Santa cosplay, you can do the baby powder trick. I did that for a Halloween costume a long time ago. Just put a bunch of baby powder in it, gives it a nice like salt and pepper look, and then it washes out real easy. But this, like, I grabbed this hat 5 minutes before I went on camera. So, sorry I didn't think that far ahead, and also I don't think I own baby powder. Mashbox replies to the earlier discussion, if parries lose their frame 1 parry, then I will miss it. That is totally fair. Mashbox says, how would you feel about only making it strike invulnerable? I guess that's the distinction. I think of armor as like, oh, that means it can only be hit by throws. But I did make that change a while ago that now you can cancel when you make contact with armor for most things. So that is a difference. That is definitely a difference where like Garlic, I'm sure, can react if you're really good. Garlic can see that the sweep hit teleport frame, so it can cancel it into like a sneak, and then maybe re-corner Bryce. I'm not sure about that scenario. But in general, as a rule, and I've liked how this has worked out. This is another reason why I made the change to Rise. I like just not having a vulnerability. There's very little, which we in the FGC, we call it invulnerability. I think a more accurate term would be intangibility, right? The absence of hurt boxes. The absence of hurt boxes. It's a great way to like make a move beat a move if you want, you know, the uppercut to always beat the jump in, but it can be sort of visually confusing, especially if you're not into the language of fighting games of like, I see my foot in his head and then half a second later I got hit. What the hell just happened? And given how much Tough Love Arena is explicitly targeting a beginner audience, I am very glad to have something like Armor where you see, like, you made impact, but it just didn't do anything. Some reactions to those talking points. Inochi says, I know you're planning on using Rice as a base for Cryptic Carb, but will there be any suit projectile-like moves on them? No, but I'm planning to do boss characters for the whole 6. I'm not sure if I've said this publicly before, maybe in a dev stream or something, maybe in the last day of the game and I already forgot, but I'm planning to do boss characters for all 6, and they will all eventually be playable, and it will be essentially a casual additional 6 characters. They will not be allowed in ranked, I will not be putting a lot of work into balancing them, but I want to make them playably balanced so that you could have a local tournament or a boss tournament and it wouldn't be like a total shit show. And this was when I made that change a couple months ago of like having the boss health versus the playable boss health. So only the boss characters can have certain like souped up stats, kind of like if you fight Seth in Street Fighter 4, his teleport has like no recovery to it, which is very frightening, but would be like completely unplayable with a human being because you would just spam it. So I'm definitely planning to go in that direction. It's just sort of a coincidence that all the bosses so far have been the bottom row, the black hearts, but I plan to do it for all of them. And so the noodle one is going to be very soup focused. That was kind of my idea. I'm going to do rice first, which is going to be more of this like different take on the zoner, this very slow moving but like weirdly agile long range character, and then noodle is going to be very soup centric. Inochi/Alexa asks, is the new game its own thing or in the Tough Love universe? It is its totally own thing. Completely divorced. I'm working on it with different people. Tough Love Arena is a Paul and Amy production. Those characters are Amy's characters. Those are Amy's babies. This is something different. I can spoil this. The new game will have faces. But the beautiful simplicity of Tough Love Arena and our sweet carbs, meats, and spices will always stay unique and special about Tough Love Arena. That's why I consider like, should I be like Tough Love Studios or something? And one, in addition to the fact that like they'll have terrible SEO because Tough Love apparently gets used in a lot of porn titles. Something I found out after I launched the beta. I plan to branch out. I plan to try different things, different genres, different attitudes. Easton says, going back to the LLC name thing, Blink-182 named its holding company Poo Poo Butt Incorporated because the members thought it would be funny to hear their managers, accountants, and attorneys say the name. Yeah, I mean, you could do it. I don't have the clout that Blink-182 does. But that is definitely a strategy. Maritimer says, do you plan on letting us edit throw text directly through the modding engine? No. That is very intentionally not in the character configs so that it is added uniformly to all characters when they're essentially compiled to ensure compatibility with any mod characters in any other context. It's just so important to the structure and balance of the core game. I would hate for someone to make an otherwise interesting mod character, but the way they handle throws is somehow incongruous with everyone else, because it's not just also an attack, it has like its own special phase and everything to make sure that like you're both locked into the animation and can't get interrupted by anything. It's complicated enough and fragile enough and universal enough in the same way that you can't change well, I hope maybe you can, shit. For a while, I know there's some stuff you can't change, like burst maybe? There was some other like shared moves, or maybe I was planning to move there and I didn't fully get there, but there's some shared moves that like, burst always works the same. Throw attacks are the same way. Moshbox says, backflip armor when? Never. Fredgery points out a siren. I don't even hear them anymore, man. It's I am surrounded by them. I based in them. Easton says, is Grounder coming back? Grounder is dead. Grounder is dead forever. That little animation of the hand out of the ground, that's gone. Kaput. We just got soup now. Taylor Rice says, thoughts on Carb mirrors having slightly easier whiff punishes? Are you talking about specifically the, like, if you go for the max range whiff punish the whip pounce will whiff. If that is your question, I remember this comment. I remember the long back and forth, because for the longest time, Beats had that. I can't talk anymore. I'm getting to that point in the stream. Meats had that issue, where the heavy punch into uppercut didn't always work, and I ultimately decided to go with it always worked. And I wasn't as confident to do that to the whips, but I'm not sure if I have a great reason to not do it. I know one of the original reasons was the pushback. The pushback system was weird. And any move where you have a lot of like movement forward has the potential to come with a lot of quarter carry. And I mitigated that with when I made the change to the uppercut with like how friction works. But not sure. Maybe. Fred Jory says, will you and Amy work together again in the future? I would love to. That would be wonderful. And to be clear, we're still working right now. We're still working together on Tough Love Arena. But just this new project is going in a very different direction, and Amy's also got a really exciting career going right now. So I will leave it at that. Rice needs the conversions to damage. Rice doesn't need shit, table. Also thoughts on swipe being plus on hit. I'm not suggesting plus 7 again, but it sucks to lose my turn. Successfully frame trapping characters long range. I strongly disagree. It was a big improvement that Rice became minus. Because bulldogging against Rice was so hard. And now if you want to do the frame trap into swipe, you can get a hit. You could RC that and confirm into more damage. And you're doing it without having to commit to actually going close like you do with the whip pounce. If you were plus, then like... I think it would become too much better than whip pounce. Not worth. Alexa is saying based. I don't know. What did I say? What did I say that was based? Please clarify. It feels like versus Noodle, though. Rice Swipe is entirely a class. That's fair, table. That's definitely a very messy matchup. Yes. That was just a very quick reaction. I think that concludes the questions. So, just once again, in case you came in a little bit later into the stream, I want to remind you all, beautiful garlic progress. You'll be able to watch this in the YouTube VOD. And the bracket is up, the registration is up for the birthday tournament in a month. Definitely sign up, enter, go 0-2, get your skin. I would if I wasn't too busy commentating. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait. And in 4 months, we'll have the April Fool's Tournament, which is going to be the mod tournament. Ooh. So, remind me, late January, I should probably start putting out feelers. Putting out applications, that kind of stuff. For clarification, I said during last year's April Fool's stream that April Fool's has been a massive amount of work to do every year, and as my time that I'm able to devote to Tough Love Arena gets sort of smaller and smaller, as just time passes and I pick up these other projects, it's the opportunity cost of making a bunch of April Fool's characters when I could be making arcade mode or finishing the iOS port or something else. It is unjustifiable. So, but I love the tradition, and I love those wacky-ass tournaments that we do. So I was thinking about making next year's, and potentially all future April Fool's tournaments, basically a officially sanctioned, curated mod modded tournament, TLG modded, where I will let the community produce mods for the 6 main characters, put those in, and then people have a lot of fun figuring out how the hell they work. But I already know I'll definitely be leaning a lot on Shiggy and all the people who helped out with the TLG modded, because I know they had a rigorous approval process and vetting. So I'll be using that as a starting point. And the goal is also to have all 6 characters made by different people, not just give one very prolific mod creator the entire cast. So, but more of that will be discussed in January and February, because it's not going to happen until April. Last question. It's 2 people saying it. Fred asks, Paul, thoughts on just letting bad matchups just rock? And Table clarifies, Paul, thoughts on keeping pork not solo viable? Matchups are going to happen. I'm definitely okay. I never expected the game to be perfectly balanced. Everyone, all 5-5s. There's going to be 6-4s. Hopefully there's just not any 7-3s or worse. And I know that pork versus carbs has always been an uphill battle. So I'll work on it. One person in chat says, honestly, we did not have a good process for TLG modded, and someone else says, I think it was a little too rigorous. Great, looking forward to finding out more. So thank you all for stopping by. It's been a lovely state of the game. Always a joy to stream, as per usual. I will be back tomorrow night with a development stream, working on maybe some of the balance changes and the rice boss. And if you missed the first half of this, the VOD will go up on YouTube with timestamps in the next 24 hours-ish. So thank you all. Thank you all for playing. This is always a blast. And big thanks to Amy, who was able to make it this time and join us in chat and show off their cool artwork. Happy holidays, everyone. In case I don't see you until the next day of the game, have a nice new year.